Good afternoon, Wilson community, and welcome to the July 28th Wilson Central School District Board Meeting. While the board meeting is open to some public, you still have the ability to watch this recording online. If we have connectivity issues, we will continue recording this board meeting and put it up on the website. And with the weather we've been having, I'm expecting some connectivity issues as we go through. But you'll be able to watch this board meeting after the meeting happens. The phone number is still there if you want to react or you have questions, you want to make any statement, please call 751-9399. I'll get the questions to the board, I'll get the statement or reaction to the board. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to President Waters to begin the board meeting.
Thank you, Superintendent Carter. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, board members. Under 1B, approved meeting minutes dated July 14, 2020. Can I have a motion? Second.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Superintendent Carter, will you take over for number 2, special presentation?
Thank you, President Waters. Board members, as you know from the beginning of the summer, late June, I put in news and notes, and then we voted at a board meeting to accept Nicole Leslie as our administrative intern under the direction of the superintendent, but she's been working with all the administrators in Wilson Central School District. And as I mentioned at a previous board meeting, I thought it was important for Nicole to come here, experience the board meeting live, and also to present what she's been working on this year and give you a chance to ask whatever questions you may want. So Nicole, I'll turn it over to you and you can introduce yourself and give us your presentation.
All right, thank you very much. Hello everyone, I'm Nicole Leslie. As Tim said, I have been here since May. I am finishing up my internship here in Wilson. I will be done August 12th, will be my last day. I have been teaching special education for Orleans Niagara BOCES for 12 years. I decided that I wanted to further my education, so I decided to return to school to Niagara University. I was originally doing the school district leadership program, and right at the beginning of May, after talking to Mr. Carter, I made the decision to go for full master's. So I'm now in the master's program at my university to get my school district and my school business leadership degree. So coming into the program and then into the internship, I had goals that I had to meet for my program supervisor. That was to understand and demonstrate my ability to lead at the district level. I had to complete 300 hours documenting authentic experiences related to all the standards within the school district leadership. While doing that, I realized that it was really important for me to really reflect on my experiences, receive feedback, which was provided to me from everybody that I have worked with this summer. And I really wanted to be able to learn and grow as a leader and as a person. So for my program, I had a variety of projects that were mandated to finish for my course. The first one that I did was a district awareness report. For that report, I had the opportunity to sit down with different directors and interview them about their job in the district. I got to sit and interview Carolyn about the business aspect and transportation, human resources. I got to sit with Sue Bell and interview her as to her job in food service and all the different things that she does. Todd and I sat and discussed his role in Wilson, and that was pretty much everyone for that project, which was a great experience to learn about different aspects of the district and how all these wonderful people contribute to the dynamics of the entire building and culture. Then I had the joy of reviewing Wilson's collective bargaining agreement. As an educator myself, I have a contract, but I only pay attention to sometimes the things that really are, pertain to me or things that are changing. So it's very interesting to sit from the administrative standpoint and have to review that and then critique it and list things that may be hard for me to approach as an administrator and then give reasons as to why. So that was one of the things that I went through for that project, and just trying to think of different things that, would be hard and maybe how I would approach those as an administrator. I reviewed a board meeting. What I had to do for that one is I had to watch 2 different board meetings from 2 different districts. I live in Lockport, so I watched a virtual board meeting through Lockport and then watched one of the board meetings through Wilson and compared and contrast them and then reflected on the differences between the 2 board meetings. My diversity project, I will be presenting to the administrators on August 6th. For that project, I had to come up with an idea and present it to Mr. Carter. For that project, I chose to follow his theme with doing a book study. So I created a presentation, found a book that would be great for him to use throughout the school year to continue on with my presentation. So that will be presented on August 6th, and it's going to be on not only diversity, but diversity and inclusion, and how to incorporate that into the district for the administrators to bring to their teachers as well. I wrote an ethics paper. Starting this internship, I thought that was going to be the hardest project, and it turned out to be the easiest one. It was very easy for me to write a paper on ethics in regards to Wilson, because I saw it on a daily basis. The ethics and professionalism within the district was amazing to experience. And then I had to do 4 reflections. So that takes me into some projects and activities that I completed while I've been here. And each one I did a reflection on for my program advisor. The first project was the 504 plans within the district. I took my expertise in special education and what I know of 504s and IEPs, and was able to create a manageable process. And within that, I trained both school psychologists, and then they in turn were able to run meetings throughout the summer. Another part of that was I went to each building and helped train the secretaries on how to use the 504 direct system, so that next school year they'll be able to make the invites, create them, and send them out to the families to keep family involvement going with that whole process. Curriculum alignment and district website design. That was a huge project, and I learned a lot of valuable information. Superintendent's Day, Mr. Carter had a training for the teachers to introduce the new next generation standards. And the teachers were asked to create curriculum maps. And what I did with those was I received them all from the teachers, and with the help of Bonnie, who taught me a lot of, great things about technology, we were able to take those curriculum maps and put them up on the district website so that kids and parents will be able to utilize that, especially with the distance learning, to be able to go on to the curriculum and instruction section and see, different things that the teachers are going to be teaching, the standards that it relates to, and, maybe some activities or other things that the kids and parents can utilize. I also had the honor of joining the hiring committee for the math position, which was an amazing experience. I had just finished reading a book in my one class about 10 great things that principals do best. And it really came in handy for this interview process. Just the whole questioning and listening and just being able to experience that was amazing. And then, as I said, the diversity project was another huge activity that I took on during this internship. So my overall experience was more than I could ever ask for. Coming in, I expected to work with Mr. Carter, and I was able to work with everybody within central office. I worked alongside the special ed department. I was able to build relationships on all levels, personal, professional, and it was an outstanding experience. I learned the importance of communication, collaboration, and reflection. As an educator, reflection is one of the hardest things sometimes to do, but it's one of the most important things to be able to do to learn and grow as an individual and as a professional. I learned about true leadership, respect, transparency, and trust. And those all go hand in hand with one another. I asked the question in the one day, because a lot of the people that I had the privilege of working with have worked in a variety of districts on different levels, doing different things. And I asked them if every district they have worked in is run the way the culture and the climate, and they said absolutely not. So I learned some great ways to create great climate and culture within a building. I took the opportunity to kind of informally interview each principal. I had some great conversations with every principal about their role in the district, and I learned a lot about the Wilson community. It was an overall amazing experience that I will be able to utilize a lot of information and stuff that I learned throughout this last 2.5 months. And I would just like to say thank you for allowing me to come and present to the board tonight. The wealth of knowledge and skills that I gained from this experience was amazing. And the relationships that I was able to build and the feedback from everyone was a great learning experience.
Does anybody have any questions for Nicole?
No, I would just like to say thank you for all of your work.
Great.
It sounds like it's going to carry on. That's wonderful. Thank you.
That was one of the goals, the two things that we talked about, many things we talked about over the time she was here, sort of creating that I'll be her mentor for life and she's going to be my intern for life. So, her work hasn't stopped. It's just beginning. But also just that the work that she's done, it's not only, I've had a few interns in the past and I've always been hesitant to take them because of that very thing. Many times the work doesn't carry on after the person left. And that was one of the goals that I had when Nicole started. We have to pick projects that when you leave, in other words, doable. And when you leave, they're going to carry on. And one of the things, especially the 504 process, is a daunting task for any building principal to be able to do. So to complete 504s, you have to run a series of meetings, and they really shouldn't be run by the special ed department. They should be run by the buildings. And here it was taken the charge of the building principals. But that means for however many meetings that it takes, somewhere 5, 6, 7 throughout the year, days of meetings, not just individual meetings, days of meetings. The building principal gets locked down in the conference room running these meetings. And all it takes is one phone call, one issue, one parent, and that the whole rest of the day meeting stop. And that's not for the parents and the kids. So Nicole did some research and we sort of tasked the psychologists to sort of be the facilitators of the meeting where the building principal is the resource. So he could be present at the meeting, he's part of the resource with the counselors and the teachers and things like that. But if he gets a call on a walkie-talkie or she gets a call on a walkie-talkie, she can get up, walk away, and the meeting can keep going. And everything doesn't stop at grinding halt. So that was part of the continuation of that process. And she's done an awesome job. And as I told George, I'd hire if I could.
I already have a master's degree in special education. I have a degree in elementary education, 1 through 6, and then special education is 1 through 12. And I'm working on a second master's in school district leadership and school building leadership.
What's your future hold?
I'm not too sure. There's so many different options out there. Caroline and I just talked, she asked me the same question today as well. I would love to be able to do either something with special education, whether it was a chairperson or a director of special ed, principal of a building. You know, there's so many options out there. You know, right now I'm still this summer alone, I was taking 3 courses, this one, and then 2 other courses on top of that. So just trying to finish up my coursework and then see what comes up. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Nicole, I'd like to thank you for your hard work, for your kind words, and you know, your future appears very bright from the conversations that I've had with the superintendent. So best of luck in the future.
Thank you very much.
Under 3 personnel resignations, A, accept the resignation of Thomas Kyle, music teacher, effective June 30, 2020 for retirement purposes. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried. Mr. Kyle, I'd like to thank you for your 18 years of dedicated service to not only the school district, but the community. Hats off to you for starting that club team, hockey team, and we had some good times watching those kids grow, and you gave them an opportunity that they may have not had playing another sport. So I'm very appreciative of that and your time in the community. Under 4 personnel appointments, A, appoint Tammy Decker as teacher math 7/12 effective September 1, 2020. Tammy Decker is professionally certified with mathematics grades 5 through 9 and mathematics grades 7 through 12 credentials, and is appointed to the tenure area teacher math 7 through 12 at step B through D with benefits per the Wilson Teachers Association agreement. This appointment includes a 4-year probationary period beginning retroactively on September 1, 2019 through September 1, 2023. Our first day of student attendance in September 2023. Due to successful completion of 1 year of long-term substitute service, the probationary end date is contingent upon the individual receiving an overall APPR rating of effective or highly effective in at least 3 of the 4 preceding years. Probationary employees receiving an ineffective APPR rating in their final year of probation will not be eligible for tenure at that time. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations, and of course, welcome to Wilson. Under B, appointment of Catherine Lewis as the extra classroom auditor for the 2020-2021 at an annual salary in the amount of $2,000. Can I have a motion? Second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item C, Alexander Bubar as the 2020 summer administrative intern. Ms. Bubar comes to us from Niagara University and will work under the direction of Mrs. Allison Ferry, school counselor, from September 21, 2022 through, May 11, 2021. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any questions?
Point of order,
Yes,
she's a counseling intern for the school year.
thank you. We will change that for the sake of the record. Counseling intern. Thank you, Mrs. Bubar. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, use of facility request. A, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Mrs. Stewart, do you have anything to report?
No, just the meeting, August 12th.
Thank you. Superintendent Carter for your superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Waters. I have 2 items. Before I get to 2 items, I want to congratulate Tom Kyle on his many years of service to the school district and also the many conversations we've had over the last 3 years. It's been awesome to get to know him and listen to his music. The first item I have is graduation update for the board and for the community. Our graduation is August 8th. It will begin at 9 o'clock. I'm asking the board members that you get there at 8:30. You're going to need your graduation gowns. I suggest an umbrella just in case it rains. The board president and myself will be sitting on the stage with Mr. Galgovich. Because of the size of the stage, it'll only take the 3 of us plus a podium. The rest of the board members will be in front of the stage in seats 6 feet apart, facing the audience, and the rest is dependent upon weather, guidelines, and things like that. The students will either be up front in chairs, or if the weather is not cooperative, they'll be inside their cars as the graduation ceremony goes on. We've had a little bit of an issue over the last couple weeks in the fact that the governor still has not updated his executive order as of June 7th, which says that outdoor graduations, no matter if they're drive-in or drive-through, they cannot be bigger than, you cannot have an assembly of more than 150. And that puts a cramp on having all of our students coming at the same time. Our original hope was to have all the students there, all 90 graduates with 2 cars, with 2 or more people in each car. But since the governor has not raised that number, our graduation may have to be broken up into 2 ceremonies. I'll have more information to follow, along with information going out to the parents. We were on the phone most of the day with our park trying to figure out what that could look like. Newport, when they did the graduation at the end of June, they had to have 3 ceremonies in order to do the same thing. Our hope at that time was the governor was going to lift his restrictions. He has yet to do that. I did send information to Senator Orr, along with Assemblyman Norris. And I sent an email to the governor himself extending my disappointment in him not updating that executive order. I've also reached out to our parents that have been in the process of planning for their assistance and reaching out to the governor's office. Our park has done an awesome job trying to assist us, but unfortunately they're hitting the same walls that we are. And I think that the more people that reach out, the better, to raise that number of people in the outdoor. So for example, if you go to a drive-in right now, or if you go to our parks drive-in concerts, there's more than 150, there's 300-400 people in cars watching the show. But because this is the graduation ceremony and the governor has put this cap on it, 150, our park can't budge. They can't, the state park system won't be able to go above the number that the executive order says. All he has to do is raise that number and we'd be in good shape. Hopefully he's going to be listening over the next couple of days. Second thing is I said I would have a fairly detailed reopening. I'm going to give some highlights right now. You will have the entire plan, all 40 some odd pages of it, in your news and notes packet. It has to be completed by Friday. It'll be on the website. It'll be sent out to the New York State portal, and it'll also be put in news and notes so you can take a look at it, what it looks like. But here's the highlights of it. So as you know, a committee has been formed since end of April, early May, where we've been brainstorming and coming to the point where we are right now until we get guidance. We have some pretty clear guidance on what it's going to look like. From that brainstorm, we sent out a couple surveys to parents. I can't remember exactly how many, 2 surveys in survey form and then an actual Google form to get some hard, concrete information around, all the areas that we're struggling with in regards to reopening. The first item that we had to come to terms on is the screening component. So any visitor, teacher, employee, and student coming to the building has to have a health screen. Right now, staff members take their own health screen at home, take their own temperature. They report it on a website. We get a report out in the morning. It's a little bit more difficult with kids, but we're going to try to follow the same guidelines. I cannot envision a good start of a school day with kids lined up getting health screened before they come in. So we're going to employ the same technique of having parents take their children's temperature in the morning, do the health screen. We have an online form that they can fill out that will connect with their attendance. So the teacher will know that the health screen is done. That is a requirement that we have to have in order to reopen. The second one is transportation. This same Google form had a question about transportation, asking parents if they would commit to either driving their children to school or committing to the district transportation. Surprisingly enough, we had about 50% of the parents said that they would drive, 50 said that they need district transportation. That may be enough to allow us to meet the guidelines, which are, in order for you to take the bus, kids have to be 6 feet apart and wearing masks the entire bus ride. Only people who can sit next to each other is members of the same household. We're hoping we have enough. That'll be the month of August with Mrs. Oliveri trying to figure out the transportation aspects to that. We do not have the ability to add bus runs. OC's CTE adds another component to it, which we're trying to figure out. But we'll make sure that we have busing figured out for the month of August. There's a plan for cleaning and sanitizing each of the buildings, and Mr. Harmon has an accountable plan to clean and to sanitize this building and the elementary building on a daily basis. There's a plan for how we're going to conduct safety drills, fire drills, and lockdown drills, and post-corona, schooling. There's a health and safety protocol, and it's massive health and safety protocols from social distancing. We have to teach, and we have to continually monitor kids' respiratory hygiene when they cough and sneeze, and also their sanitary hand hygiene when they're washing, when we have to make them wash their hands multiple times throughout the day before touching any common items, before going to lunch, all those things that we have to monitor to make sure that they do. And then we get to instruction. We have to provide 3 models for instruction: an in-person instruction, a remote instruction model, and then a hybrid of both. We're in the final details. Tomorrow and Thursday, we should have nailed down exactly what it's going to look like. But remote instruction, you can imagine, it's all the students at home. In anticipation to, at some point during this next school year, we may end up in a full remote. Schooling is just going to have to keep happening. As you know from previous meetings, we have Chromebooks purchased for every student. And part of the ticket to get your Chromebook was to take that survey or that Google form. And early in the month of August, Mrs. Simpson is going to set up time for parents and kids to pick up their Chromebooks and to begin that process of getting them in their hands. So that's the remote instruction. Then we have in-person instruction. In-person instruction, we have to guarantee that while they're in the classroom, they're 6 feet apart. When they're 6 feet apart, they can take their masks off. If you cannot maintain 6 feet, you have to leave your mask on all day, and I can't envision someone keeping a mask on all day long. But that's the in-person instruction. In all of this, if a student is medically frail themselves or has someone in their house medically frail, There's a provision that the district must provide remote instruction for them. And also, if there's a fear on the parents' side or the student side about returning to school, we have to provide remote instruction for them also. In our survey, there's about 12% of our population, approximately 60 families that are concerned about returning. And they have asked for a full remote instructional model, and we will have to provide it. And then there's a hybrid model for instruction, which is both remote and in person. And it seems to me one of the only ways, at least to open up the school year, we're going to be able to meet our goal to get our kids back as much as possible and limit the number of students that are in the building to require 6 feet apart so they can remove their masks, and also 6 feet apart to eat their lunch. In our classrooms, when you use the average of 9 or 10, you can fit 9 or 10 kids in the classroom 6 feet apart to allow them to remove their masks. In the cafeterias, it's about 60 to 65 kids that can sit in the cafeteria and remove their masks and be able to eat. So you can imagine it's important to reduce the number of students that are in the classroom, but yet keep the continuity of instruction going as much as possible. And that's where the Chromebooks are going to aid us tremendously. So the hybrid model that I'm not necessarily married to, but it's one that makes the most sense, is to split your cohort or your district up into 2 sections, keeping in mind family groups. So you have use the alphabet A through L, and then G through Z, and you split them essentially in half. Cohort A would come to school on Monday and Wednesday, on Monday and Tuesday, and then on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they would be logging in remotely. Cohort B would come to school Thursday and Friday, and they would then log in remotely Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. No students would be in the building on Wednesday. It would be not only a full remote day, but also a day for deep cleaning. Along with deep cleaning after Friday, the students in cohort B leave. Part of this plan is the use of both synchronous and asynchronous instruction. So it's my belief that we will be able to have students, whether in school or out of school, run their actual schedule, log in remotely, and be able to listen in on instruction, watching on instruction. It's going to take a lot of training. It's going to take a lot of work to make sure not only students are up to speed, but also teachers have the ability to do this. And that's really what the month of August and the beginning of September is going to look like. So synchronous instruction is in time, or while instruction is going on in the classroom, then asynchronous is student gets an assignment going home to work on and then brings it back the next day. That's the instructional model. I've already talked a little bit about technology. We're going to provide the technology for the student to be able to log in, and the technology for the teacher to be able to video their lesson, put out their lesson before or during the lesson, and then also remotely allow the students to be able to log into their classroom while the instruction is going on. We're also going to provide the ability for our students to have hotspots. In the same Google form, we asked, do you in your household, yes or no, do you have reliable internet access so your child can participate actively in their instruction? And 93, I believe, % of the population said that they do, which leaves right now about 39 families that do not have reliable internet, which we're going to make some accommodation to make sure we can get it to them. Part of this plan also is a plan for making sure that we have special ed services and special ed meetings taken care of, and that's part of our plan. And then also we have to have an aspect of mental health for when students return, and the majority of our plan involves using Dr. Darrell Cohen. You will see in detail all of that plan on Friday. Does any board members have a question for me?
I'll be able to answer that. I'll be able to answer that better when I meet with the elementary on Thursday morning. I have two things running in my head and jotted down to have a conversation. One is to do a hybrid model, and then one is only to do hybrid 6 through 12. Just on an aside, many of our 4th and 5th graders are very adept, and probably more adept than this person behind the microphone on using Chromebooks and things like that. So we may adapt that to 4 through 12, doing the AB schedule, and then pre-K 1 and 2, and 3, coming to school every day. Just depends on a number of factors, and when I have that conversation, my final conversation with the building. We meet Thursday morning. That's my superintendent report.
Thank you, Superintendent Carter. I would encourage board members and community members to contact your elected officials. They do work for us. They do not like negative press. And it's very important that your voices, whether I agree with your voices or not, that you make those heard to them. I think it's important that they hear from as many people as possible so that the decisions that are made are not from 5 or 6% of the population. Board members, do you have anything to add to tonight's meeting? We do have need for an executive session or a prospective need or prospective sale of property. There will be no board action after this meeting or after this executive session. Can I have a motion for executive session? Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We are in executive session.